let's hippity hop and let's take it up a notch and let's talk about, as I'm calling it, the
We're
running back
hoping.
state of the union.
Oh,
Because we need to talk about the running back situation because good Lord
it is
Almighty,
fair.
it's getting bad. It's getting bad out here, folks. So we're going to actually kind of go through a few of the running backs here, and we're just going to talk about, hey, who you need to be careful of, who you need to trade, get. Um, and so I mean, the
Quickly,
first one,
very briefly.
yeah, very briefly, CMC, you're keeping done. Bada bing, bada boom. That's all we're going to talk about CMC for
I
this
wish I was
episode.
you.
Oh, it's so nice. Um, let and then let's let's go down the list here. Who's been your biggest disappointment at running back? Because I think we all might have the same answer. Here's who is someone that you thought would do really good and then has become
I mean,
ascent.
Gibson is one.
Gibson is one. My pick is Alexander Madison.
Yeah,
I
Madison is
mean,
a huge one.
Alexander Madison. For me, Miles Sanders. I
Yeah.
expected more of him. Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah.
yeah.
I expected a little more from all of them.
Joe
Um,
Mixon too.
I think,
yeah,
and then on top of that, I think Henry's been the one that's been shocking. Though
yeah.
it did look like a return to form this week. I mean, but yeah, let's go down the list. CMC, you're keeping Austin Eckler. I will tell you right now, I am trading away as soon as I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was nervous about trading him over the offseason with how he played week one. And then he immediately got injured and I was like, you
Well,
know what?
here's
Well,
the crazy thing. They just said today that there's no timetable, so that's problem number one. Oh, sorry, the
Yeah.
camera's right here. Problem number one. Problem number
that's problem
two.
number one.
Yeah, as I have it off screen. But problem number two, guys, I've I'm pretty sure Brandon Staley might get fired if they lose a few more games. Like legitimately,
Interesting.
when you give and here's why. When
Oh,
you give 260 million to
mhm.
Justin Herbert and you start the year 0-2 because you are a defensive coach and your defense stinks. You get torched uh by Mike McDaniel, Tua, and Tyreek Hill, and then get torched again by Tennessee, who has Derrick Henry, D Hop,
Yeah,
Traylon Burks,
that's
Ryan
unacceptable.
Tannehill, who looked really bad. At what point do they go, enough is enough? We have our quarterback locked in, but you got to go. And
Well,
Yeah.
here's one thing though: the NFC South has three top 10 defenses.
That's
I mean that is
That's
yeah.
also
true,
That's right.
something.
but I'm look.
Just to piggyback off last week of is the NFC South actually good? Just remember
Yeah,
that they have
that
three top 10 defenses right now.
they're putting in the work right now. But I want to go into just Eckler here. I mean, he's obviously out here, but here's who the Chargers have: Minnesota, Vegas, bye week, and then Dallas.
Well, I mean, that's a good like turnaround time to get things figured out with Minnesota and Vegas who've been struggling.
But so my
Yeah,
question is,
but
what
not
if it doesn't?
struggling. See, the thing is, the Vikings have been struggling a little bit, but it's mainly with turnovers. They're still getting touchdowns, yards. They're passing all over teams.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
Well, back to running backs. Yeah, he
yeah,
does need to get it figured out. I think you're right. Eckler should probably be traded.
yeah. I am trying to trade him as soon as possible right now because the thing is, he will come back. At some point this year, unless they somehow shut him down for the rest of the year, and then
yeah.
It might be a
but
couple weeks though, which
but
is
I
fine.
feel like
I think they're gonna have to give him a couple of weeks, maybe mid-season, but I
yeah.
don't know if they do that mid-season. They'd probably wait until the
My
off season
my guess,
to get
worst case
things
scenario, they
going.
wait till after the bye week. But imagine if the Chargers start out 1-3. Like, does Staley make it? Like, that's the legitimate question.
Yeah,
And if Staley gets canned, what does this team do? They're going to be like, you know what? We're just going to punt on this year. We got our quarterback, bada bing, bada boom. Or are they going to try and roll with it with like Kellen Moore as the interim head coach? We don't really know. But that
yeah.
uncertainty is it takes me out of Austin Eckler sweepstakes entirely, and that's why I want to fire sell him.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what though, now's the time to go get Jameer Gibbs.
Jameer,
If you-
yeah, yep. Let's go with that because that was also that was Ryan's. I think other big question was, is it Gibbs time? And Ethan, I think the floor is yours with Jameer Gibbs.
Yeah, I mean, he. So here's what's tough with it. Like, it seems like he's running on a very limited part of their playbook, which is also something Dan said of we need to get him more comfortable. But I mean, surprise, surprise, Monty's injured, who is shocked, probably no one. So this is kind of the moment we were waiting for, but we just need them to scheme him up. And I think that's what we're going to see against Atlanta. I don't know if he'll put up huge numbers rushing, but in terms of checkdowns, like we saw a lot of passing attempts.
9 targets, 7 catches for 39 yards.
Right. So that's probably going to keep up versus Atlanta. And moving forward, Monty's going to be injured for the rest of the year. So, I mean, it's going to be 3 weeks now. That might be enough time for Gibbs to take over. Potentially. I'm not saying it's absolutely going to happen. That's my hope for him and what I think is going to happen.
And if you
But
if
I
you
would
want to
trade.
know something interesting, I believe they just signed Zonovan Knight today,
They did.
as of this recording,
Yeah.
which is a
Yeah,
Tuesday.
well, they
So
don't
that's
believe in Craig Reynolds,
or it just depth for that perspective. It's so Craig, Zonovan, and then Gibby in space.
But I really like what I've seen so far from Gibby. I was really hoping he was going to get it earlier, but he didn't. And you know what? That's fine. Everyone has their own adjustment period. I mean, look at CJ and Bryce Young. Like, they didn't really seem to get it till this last week, and even then they still make some mistakes. So, and Bijan is just an anomaly.
Yeah,
But also the Atlanta run game.
He
which
is also the greatest running back prospect we have seen in a very, very, very long
I don't
time.
know, maybe since CMC.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say CMC because I would
I think
actually
he's
put
better
him.
than Barkley.
I would put him above
Yeah.
Barkley.
Well, he plays a different game though. He's not
that's
a power running back, but he makes flashier plays. I mean, he made again like the top 8 defense in Green Bay. Like, he put 3 dudes on skates.
Oh yeah, dude, his cutting ability is insane.
That was very entertaining to watch.
I
Honestly,
couldn't believe that.
yeah, that was incredible.
But you guys
But,
brought up oh, Ryan, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah. Do you want to move on to the next big question?
Yeah.
Here, I mean, this is still part of our running back State of the Union. Let's talk about, unfortunately, the injuries. If y'all saw Nick Chubb, we really hope him and wish him a
He
speedy
got that into a
recovery.
right angle.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say
that was
knees
brutal.
aren't supposed to bend that way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that-
sent you guys the picture. I hope you enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was
That
brutal
was
to
disturbing.
watch.
It was disturbing. In fact,
I'm
they
sorry.
didn't even want to play that
Good
live
on the NFL for
TV
doing
last night. Like the announcers were like, yeah,
review.
the announcers. I kind of chuckled a little bit. I was like, the announcers just said, "Oh," and that's how like you hear the crowd going, "Ooh." So you know what? We're
Well,
not
but
gonna
they didn't
show
even
it.
see it like how we saw it after the fact. Like,
Yeah,
when you slow that thing down and get close up on it, I mean, it is
It's-
brutal. Like, in game, you don't
Yeah.
even see it flop like how it does when you slow it down. But when you
Yeah.
slow it down, I mean, it goes literally from a right angle to flopping all the way over. Like,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah,
brutal.
extremely.
I
brutal.
cringed.
Yeah,
When I saw
that
it.
one hurt. As soon as I saw it, I was like, "Oh no."
Yeah, so prayers with them, honestly.
Yeah, really, we hope and wish him a speedy recovery. But unfortunately, we do have to talk about his absence.
But hey,
And-
Kareem Hunt might be coming back.
Yeah, Kareem Hunt might be coming back. Jerome
Yeah.
Hope you
Ford is
missed him,
apparently the
Cleveland.
starter. I want to talk about fantasy perspective, not like what the teams are going to do, but what you as the fantasy manager should do. So I have in multiple leagues just lost Saquon and Nick Chubb. So now my
God.
question is, what am I going to do? So hypothetically, like, what's the game plan here?
No, you're gonna cry. That's all you can do.
You're gonna,
I did.
yeah. See, you curl up in the corner and just start. Because really, I mean, that's if you lost both of these guys, at least the next couple of weeks until Saquon, which there's been rumors that he would come back this Thursday. I don't know about that, but it's a possibility.
I
But
would
you
be
may
shocked.
be
It's a
out.
Thursday
You
game.
may be out for a couple of weeks. Your
Here's the thing
top
that's so
two
hard though.
running back.
Running back is dry. I mean,
Yeah.
it is just dry.
And
There's nothing we can be
unless
like, get this guy and you'll be okay. It's like, no, like I'm
So
sorry.
I would
It's
tell you
just-
right, unless
okay,
you
all right.
magically picked up
Conspiracy
Kyrie.
theory.
Okay.
Conspiracy theory. You know, they had that meeting in the off season. All those running backs got together and they came together and talked about what the running back position is going to look like. Do you think like teams are starting to go, all right, well, I mean, we just won't use you,
Well,
or you're not going to be front stage or center stage.
so if you want to think of it this way, the NFL did just file a grievance against the NFLPA talking about using injuries in contract negotiations. So that did
Interesting.
just happen. I haven't really seen much more response to it, but I did see that was posted. So I was like, that's a little interesting. I mean, I think the Nick Chubb situation, I think, is going to be exhibit A from what the NFLPA shows the NFL and be like, hey, this is messed up as I hold
Yeah.
this lens.
I
this
mean,
lens thing. But because the thing is, Chubb was on the last year of his deal.
yeah.
So, and this is probably going to be like a 2-year recovery, like legitimately, because it's
Yeah.
the same knee that happened to him.
Depending on how bad it
Full
is.
recovery, yeah.
I mean, if it is as bad as last time, like dislocated knee, torn PCL, MCL, I mean, even potentially ACL.
Could be career ending for him.
Yeah, potentially.
And so, and I mean, I think they have every reason to be like, look, if you're gonna pay us. But I did find some a stat here that I find very interesting. It's from Mass Live, talking about injury rates among like wide receivers and running backs. Oddly enough, when running backs are age 29, they actually missed fewer games than running backs who were averaging 27 and 28, who are 25 to 28 years old. Oddly enough.
Well, I mean, I believe that they're not running as hard, and they actually at that age they have been in the league. Yeah, but they have been in the league.
Yeah,
they've been in the league for multiple years. They know how to take care of themselves. They know all of that. So I understand that. I get it. So that sounds like a reasonable stat to me.
Yeah, the reason why I kind of want to bring it up is because, I mean, if we want to take it between running backs and receivers, is just, oh hey, players get hurt all the time. That's the median. That's what happens. So forth, right? What we're seeing though is that the running backs take longer to recover, and I don't know necessarily if it's. And on top of that, before I get to that next point, wide receiver like size has been able to shrink down. So like Devontae Smiths of the world, Zay Flowers of the world, Tank Dell, Paul Richardson back in the day with Seattle. So I do find it very interesting that we're able to have smaller receivers, but the running backs, I mean, you have to stay big to be able to run in between the tackles. And unfortunately, I mean, Ethan, we can talk about how the Nick Chubb hit happened in the first place.
It was wrong.
But
should have never happened.
I mean, the bigger issue may just be tackling rules in general, and especially how unfortunately they're kind of subconsciously incentivized to aim lower, which sucks. But
yeah, but there's a difference between aiming low on somebody and aiming low on somebody who's wrapped up.
Yeah,
like there's a massive difference between those two things. One will break a guy's leg, and the other will take down a big running back.
Yeah.
Like if somebody's wrapped up, for anyone who is actively playing football, if somebody's wrapped up, do not hit them below the knee.
Ever. No, you can grab them from
You are
above.
a terrible person if you do. Minkah Fitzpatrick is wrong for that. I'm glad he got injured. I hope he gets injured if he does it again, because that is wrong.
Like, I mean, that's
so.
That's
But really quickly to answer the
I
question, for those people who are or do you want to say something quick, Ryan, before I turn the page.
Oh, I was just gonna add a little piece. I saw on Facebook on a football page that they were saying, they should implement a rule that if you intentionally like hurt somebody like that and they're out for the year, you get suspended for the year until they come back. You're out.
I kind of
like
like that. I
it
mean,
would be like it would be a big incentive, but it would
if
also
you're
ruin some people's
asking me,
career.
Minka should be suspended for that hit. He should be. I'm just gonna tell you how it is. You launch
Yeah.
at someone below the knee while they're wrapped up by somebody else and going to the ground. You deserve to be suspended for a hit like that.
I'll be honest with
That's
you.
like a targeting thing for
No,
me.
I totally get how, like, I totally understand where you're coming from, and especially just
I'm also very
I
sensitive
have,
about
like,
it because I had an injury like that. So, and
Yeah.
I know mine was nowhere near as bad as Nick Chubb was, but it was bad enough to be like, you just don't do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I totally understand where you're coming from. I guess my perspective on it is, there's one dude, I can't remember his name, but he came up with this quote, and I'm taking this with me as far as in life in general. But it basically says it's hard for you to get mad at the result if you don't analyze the process of how you got to the result. And that's where I feel like I've kind of been like understanding, it's just the mechanisms that kind of cause for a hit for a player to go, oh hey, I got aim low here to get him down. Oh crap, there's his knee.
Yeah.
And that's where I do think that we need to kind of revisit, like, hey, if the helmets are safe enough, maybe loosen up on some of the head-to-head rules. I know I feel like I'm creating the script of concussion to Rydell Boogaloo, but I don't know what you do, because right now, unfortunately, the knee injuries are almost just as damaging as the head injuries. So that's kind of like my issue regarding all of it. Obviously, there's defenseless receiver, and obviously, like the Kareem Jackson hit on Logan Thomas this past week. Obviously,
Yeah.
that, like, there doesn't need to be a head-to-head collision there.
Yeah.
But when you
Yeah.
officiate it and kind of regulate it to the point where defensive players have to go for knees, that's where I'm going. Maybe we went too far, and that's
No,
where
and I understand that. I understand that they
Yeah.
have to do it, but you've got to understand situations.
exactly. I think that's very fair.
Like I said, wrapped up, don't do it. You will,
Yeah.
100 out of 100 times, you will hurt someone. That's
Yeah,
just how it
I-
is. Because
I
you're getting
definitely think
pulled
that's
in two
fair to
different
say.
directions. Because he's pulling him down, and Minka's
Yeah.
hitting him, which that's why he got bent into a right angle. Because the dude was pulling him forward, and then Minka launched at him and stopped his leg. That's why you get injured. But anyways, we're off topic.
Yeah.
Answer
Let's,
your question
Yeah.
about what you do if you're in this situation, and then we'll get to our dream lineups. Is you have to find a way to get Kyron Williams.
Yeah.
You have to play Brian Robinson. You have to hope Raheem Mostert is available.
Lock in CMC and probably
Lock in CMC.
Tony Pollard.
James Cook is a good option. I'm talking about guys you can get.
Are we
that
at the point where
potentially
you
fail.
just go zero running back and pray at this point?
That too. Like I'm gonna
I
probably
would,
wide receivers.
Because
I would pick up scrap running backs and
yeah,
just
James Conner,
rotate
Rashad
them
White,
in.
DeAndre Swift if he's available.
Because you're gonna have a hard time. Yeah, you're gonna have a hard time finding RB1s because people aren't gonna want to trade them because they're the only things that are going right in the RB world right now.
They are scarce.
They are like they're very scarce. Like I was looking through waivers and I'm like, there isn't a single running back I want to take right now. And so far for the season, we've already lost Nick Chubb, J.K. Dobbins, and then for multiple weeks, Eckler and
JT.
And I mean JT will get Saquon. So like per potentially multiple weeks, and that's 4 out of the top 20 running backs. And then to mention kind of like Najee, I think has been a massive disappointment. And I mean, I'll go into the disappointment category. Najee, Madison, I mean, we can even talk Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon, like combined there.
Well,
We
Aaron
can
Jones got
talk
injured,
about
so we don't get mad at Aaron Jones.
that's fair. But like, I'm trying to think who else we're going to talk about in this
And
situation.
Walker, Damian
ETN,
Pierce.
yeah,
Yeah.
Damian Pierce is a perfect example.
Yeah, and I think on
Josh
that
Jacobs.
one we can end it. So just be careful with your running
Yeah.
backs. You're probably going to want to flex wide receivers, and
Yeah.
it's rough out here.
It's rough out here. The last question
It
I
is
want,
very
the
rough.
last question we have related to this running back state of the address, basically, we're talking maybe loading up on receivers and pray you have a running back that takes off. But Jonathan Taylor, Cam Akers. There's already been reported teams. We could start with one or the other. There are 4 teams that were listed for Cam Akers were the Ravens, the Raiders, the Bucks, and one more team that escapes my memory. I gotta find it real quick.
Yeah, I'm always
Dude,
finding that. I'll go ahead and ask the big question that this is. Well, I want to start with mine and ask my big question. While you're looking for that, but
yeah.
it's who's going to go after Jonathan Taylor first? Like, who's going to make that initial strike for him? Because you're seeing these injuries, dudes are out for the year. Like, one thing me and Josh talked about is, yeah, the Browns don't have a first round pick upcoming this year, but I mean, you're in a win now mode with Deshaun Watson. You paid him a lot of money. You have Amari Cooper. You have the offensive line. You have a defense that's been excellent for years. Like, you need to do something. You can't afford, as Stefanski, to not win this year. So, and with how desperate I think the Colts are to just be done with the situation and to get something, who's going to go for it? And, on my list, I've got the Browns, the Giants, the Rams, the Ravens, and the Dolphins of who wants to go to that next level and, have a generational talent.
Okay, I got the last team. It is the Browns, Ravens, Raiders, Bucks. For all potentially called about Cam Akers.
Well, I think Ravens and Browns are probably your best bet for those. I mean, shoot, the Rams. I don't think they could afford JT with how their cap looks right now. I don't think they could do it.
And
Well,
I think
now
they're
they're
perfectly
starting to
happy
get-
with Kyron. I think they're perfectly
Yeah.
happy with Kyron.
Well, yeah, with how he's been performing the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I don't think the Dolphins are in. I think they're going to ride with Mostert right now. They could potentially pick up JT, but I don't think Cam Akers is going to be on their radar.
No, I don't think Cam Akers is on their radar either.
But I think they're just offering too much, or they're wanting too much for JT for them to be in on it.
Here's the reality. If that situation was to get remedied and it was just the Colts that struck first and we're like, hey, we're going to give you a new deal and just be done with it because we need you on this team. That's a very scary football team.
Ethan, just to add to that conversation, because I think that's clearly back on the table now. Anthony Richardson literally left the game with a concussion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they need to talk about, oh, hey, by the way, you have your superstar quarterback out here getting killed because we don't have the running back to pull this off.
Yeah.
And I think that if there's anything that's going to change Jim Irsay's mind, it's going to be the health of your future star quarterback.
Because you've already seen it. Anthony Richardson is for real.
Yeah.
He is a freak. Unfortunately,
right now, I think it's
an effect, but
yeah, but I think it's for offensive rookie of the year. I think it's between him and Bijan.
And Puka.
Straight up.
No, it's
I think
Bijan.
it's I mean, we'll see. We'll see how this year goes. Well, yeah, I'd say Puka is a close third.
Yeah, but
Puka is coming in third.
I will tell you, I mean the Browns, I would not be surprised to pull the trigger on JT though, and here's why.
Yeah.
They literally 1 year into the Deshaun Watson deal, they restructured it, making Deshaun Watson getting paid for the next 3 years $64 million. So it's going to be 64 million, 64 million, 64 million. They're at the point.
Crap.
where the Browns have to go, Deshaun Watson has to work. And I mean, Jerome Ford, I mean, Dearness Johnson, and even Demetric Felton, I think are all very capable backs. But you're 1-1 in the division, and strike while the iron's hot because Cincy is magically 0-2 to start the year and 0-2 in the division. That's what makes this even
Yeah,
You
more
have to
critical.
capitalize.
yeah,
You-
it's rough.
Yeah, you kind of have to. The other
If they
team, I
lose
would
one more division game, like that might be the end. That might be it for
exactly.
them.
And the other team I want to talk about for JT, I mean, besides Miami, we've talked ad nauseum. I think Minnesota has to really look into JT. And the reason why is because I think in 2 weeks, I don't care if it was the Bucks, I don't care if it was the Eagles. Alexander Madison has showed you he is not the answer, and that Dalvin Cook was
Yep.
he's kind of important. And I think with
Yep.
Kevin O'Connell's scheme, it's great on the passing end. It leaves a lot to be desired on the run game side of things. And I take this because I understand, especially with when I've dealt with the Greg Roman experience as a Ravens fan the past few years. Just because you have a heavy emphasis on the run and then you're not going to focus like on the pass as much, that doesn't mean that you can just put Joe Schmo at receiver and call it
Yeah.
a day. You actually have to make sure that that's even better than your run game, because what you're doing is you have to go, the pass game has to be perfect whenever I call it or whenever I want it to be. It has to be perfect. So that's what I think Minnesota's dealing with. And when they realize
Mhm.
if Madison can't do this, we're just going to keep losing and losing and losing. And they have to be able to control the game running the ball. So that's
Yeah.
the only reason why I think if they haven't considered JT, they better be considering JT.
Yeah.
They
Well-
should. Honestly, I would be completely behind that. The only concern I have is just cap. So
Yeah,
because we gotta pay JJ for one.
Yeah,
Everybody's calling for it. He's calling for it. And then we're losing Kirk Cousins at the end of this year unless we pay him. And he's going to demand a lot for doing what he's done the last couple of years. So that's my concern.
I don't think
is
his contract.
we've already got a couple of guys that need to be paid big contracts. Now Kirk Cousins isn't going to demand a lot, but you know, he's going to be a top tier quarterback just with how he's done the last couple of years. So,
all right. I'm pulling up the Vikings real quick just to see kind of what we have.
I mean,
Yeah, they have about 12 million cap space, so they can make a move if they want to. As far as this year, it would have to be a mid-season trade, and then obviously next year is where things. I mean, they actually have 55 million in cap space, so anything can happen.
It's
but again,
possible.
we've also got to re-sign
It's possible.
Yeah,
all of them.
Ryan, it's possible.
It's
It's
possible.
it's possible.
It's possible. I'm not giving up on it. It's possible, but
And
might
not
not happen.